certainly get through it. So with that said, the Board of County Commission meeting for October 27 is being held in both person and virtually, utilizing communications media technology made permissible pursuant to the governor's executive orders. This meeting may be viewed in person in the BCC chambers, on SJTV, YouTube, and by registering to participate in the Zoom webinar. Residents can provide both public comment in person or by registering to speak on the Seminole County website and Board of County Commissioners webpage. You will find a link on those pages to register for the webinar entitled Meeting/Webinar Registration and Helpful Hints. If you're unable to join via computer, online interested parties should call 407-665-0808. That's 407-665-0808 for additional information on how to participate via a telephone. We will take public comment on each item as it appears on the agenda. In order to be recognized to speak, if you're using a computer or iPad, you will need to use your raise hand feature. If you are calling in on a telephone, you will need to press *9. If you are attending in person, you'll be required to wear a mask and social distance at all times. Please be respectful of everyone in the audience in doing so. Today, beginning with our invocation we put on by Pastor Preston Free from First Christian Church, Winter Park. We appreciate the pastor being here, followed up by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner DeLaurie. Go ahead, Pastor. Welcome. And feel free to remove your mask.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today and we're grateful for another day to be here, to be alive. God, you're the maker of all things, of heaven and earth, and we are created in your image, which is a great privilege, Lord, that we are created to be like you, to be able to have relationships and laugh and enjoy life and to love and to be loved. And Lord, every good and perfect gift comes from you. And even the things we're doing here today, to be able to govern is a gift from you. And so, Lord, I pray that you be with those who are responsible for helping governing these good citizens of Seminole County. That you give them wisdom and insight. That we look out for those who are helpless and who cannot look out for themselves. Lord, that we pray for our people here who, God, have given their time and effort and money over the years. God, they have a passion to govern and to help people. And so, Lord, I pray that you bless them individually, with their families, with their spouses, and all the pressures that come with jobs like this, God. And so I pray for this meeting today that it will go well, that they'll be able to do their job well, to focus, especially in the times that we live in now. I pray for our country, that we, as a country, even though we have different opinions and views, God, that we are still Americans. And we thank you for the right to be able to vote and to do government. And we look around the world and we know that there are many people who can't do that. So we thank you for the men and women who have made that possible today. And so, Lord, we thank you again for life and government. And so many people here in Seminole County who have dedicated their lives for the service of others. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner DeLaurie, and thank you, Pastor Free. We appreciate it very much. Next up, we're going to have our Emergency Management Director, Mr. Alan Harris, is here to provide us with emergency management update. Mr. Harris, welcome. And again, feel free to remove your mask. Sometimes it's easier for us to hear if you're having trouble.
Good morning, everyone. Alan Harris, Chief Administrator for the Office of Emergency Management. First, on the flooding, on the inland flooding, I'm very happy to report that inland flooding of most of the lakes have started to go down. We were able to cease sandbag operations due to that. The St. Johns River remains in action stage, and we still have a number of parks that are closed. We were able to open up Mullet Lake Park due to the water receding in that area. Unfortunately, Wayside Park remains closed. That's the boat ramp there. The Leisure Services Department did walk Black Hammock, Lake Jessup Wilderness Area, and Geneva Wilderness Area, and the areas that were closed need to be remained closed due to water levels. So that's it on the flooding side, so things are starting to look better as long as the tropical system that is going to move into the Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama area doesn't push storms into our area, which it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but if that forecast remains consistent, it looks like that we, at this time, the action stage for the St. Johns River at Sanford should go down by the end of the week, and then in Lake Harney, which is kind of inconsistent with what we do normally. Normally Harney goes down first, then Monroe, but for some reason Monroe's flowing a little bit better, so Monroe looks to be out of the action stage by the end of this week, and then Lake Harney and Jessup by the end of next week. On to the COVID side, Commissioner Carey, you asked me to always say something positive first about COVID. So I will say that we are doing better than most counties right now. That's all I can say positive at this moment, unfortunately. Our numbers are increasing on every level. Our current positive caseload right now is 514. The last time we met was 367. That's an increase of 147. Our daily new cases, last time we met was around 20 to 40. We're now seeing 40 up to 70 new cases per day. Individuals isolated and quarantined, today we have 706 individuals. That includes the PUIs and monitoring cases. The last time we met was 589, 117 increase. And keep in mind, those are with us clearing cases too. So we're clearing cases and new cases are coming in, and we're continuing to see an increase. Our positivity rate, last time we met was 3.49% of all the individuals that were being tested. Today we are at 5.13 and climbing. Last week we had a pop-up test site which saw a positivity rate of a little over 12%. Our hospital count, last time we met was 21 in the 4 hospitals. Today we're at 36, and that continues to increase. ALFs and nursing homes, last time we met were just 8, so that was really good. That was we were turning a corner there, definitely making some great strides. We have now over 35, and that's an increase of over 25 individuals. Our fatality count today is at 237. That has not increased dramatically, which is good. And we saw the increase. It takes obviously a while, so we were seeing that increase after the spike that had occurred, and then getting the results back in. There was a news report that the state of Florida was looking at some of the fatalities and how they matched up, and in some other counties, and they had a list of all the counties where there was some disparity and the times the person had COVID and the fatality, and they had to go back and look at some of those things. I'm happy to report Seminole was not in that list. We continue to do pop-up testing, and there's discussion about well, you're testing more, so that's why you're getting more positives. No, when we're offering the same amount of testing, we didn't have the demand that we have now. We have a huge demand for pop-up test sites. They're booking up before we even have a chance to put them out on social media. We're just posting it to the website and they're booking up. So there is a higher demand. We were actually having to promote it, do reverse calls to the area just to get people to show up 3-4 weeks ago, and now we just post it and it's booked. So there is a demand out there for testing. The one good thing I'd say is that we haven't seen a sharp increase like other counties, like I mentioned, and I think that that's due to the residents of our community, and most of the residents, not all, but most of the residents are taking this very seriously. COVID did not get the memo that it's over, so the virus continues to be out there. And we have to take precautions, and we're taking the precautions here, and we're taking the precautions across county government and all of our city governments, and we just need to continue to do that until we get a vaccine or something that can prevent this from spread. That ends my report, if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Harris? Commissioner Lockhart?
Alan, thank you again for everything that y'all do. I know the last couple of meetings, we've talked a little bit about benchmarks and metrics, and grateful that we were able to get a copy of the White House Coronavirus Task Force report. That's a mouthful.
Call it the China virus report. It's easier.
When we talked many weeks ago about, what do benchmarks look like? What do metrics look like? And you even suggested maybe we could do some type of a color coding system. Little did we know at the time that the federal report contained exactly that, benchmarks and metrics and thresholds in a color-coded system. So I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at that yet, but I would love it if, rather than us reinventing the wheel, if when our citizens ask what are the benchmarks or what are the thresholds, if we were to just adopt what's already being utilized by the feds, that would probably make everyone at least be more likely on the same page. Not entirely, but if there is thought about that or an opportunity to discuss that, I think that would be very helpful, not only for the members of our team, but also for the community, so that everybody knows what sheet of music it is we're singing from.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think some of the early challenges we saw where the White House Task Force originally rolled out that exact designation, but as it started to roll out, it looked like we were never in one phase. There was like 1.25 or between one or the other, and following that was somewhat troubling, I think everybody would admit. Same from the state level, whether we were in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, nobody told us there was going to be a phase 1.3, 1.7, 1.8,
Right.
and yet we never got the memos from our state and federal leaders that there was going to be such thing. It was phase 1, 2, and 3. We fell in between the cracks somehow. So it's troubling. I mean, I know people want an answer. They want to see the end. I think that's the way we're built, including myself. I can't wait for 2020 to be over, and I don't know that when 2020 is over, this is over. But as much information as we can certainly give the public, the best, without confusing. I mean, there's enough confusion between the news media, the politicians, and everybody's got an opinion. Even the doctors can't all agree. So that's troubling at best. So if we could find a metrics that would be more reliable, I'd be all in for that. Commissioner DeLaury?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would wholeheartedly agree with you. Alan, the question I have is, I first want to thank you and your entire team for all their hard work. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that we don't see on a regular basis, so please thank them all for us. How are we doing with the school system? Because I know we've been partnering with the school district, and if you just give us a little insight how they're doing and if there's anything more that we can do to help them.
Sure. So we get a report from the school system every other week, and there has been a number of cases in the school system. Very, very, very few of the cases have been transmitted inside of the schools. They're all community-based transmissions, so individuals, youth getting the virus, and teachers getting the virus outside of school, not necessarily in school. There have been a couple cases where there were transmission inside of the school. There have been some monitoring and PUI cases, so individuals that are in schools coming in contact with other students and having that contact for 15 or more minutes, and it requires those individuals to go out, but not at large numbers. So the school system has done a really good job of keeping things clean. The mask, we talk about benchmarks and all these things, but are we doing better because of masks? I mean, that's a question we have to ask. And if we set something and we say, okay, this is it, and we get rid of the mask, and that's why we were doing so well, then we'll be in red in no time at all. So that's something that we have to consider as we make these decisions. And that's something the school board has to make that, as their deciding point too. And that's why you're seeing a lot of school districts, just like ours, has mask mandates, even though the counties that they work in do not. But then, of course, in our county, we do have a mask mandate and the school board. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot better results here at the Seminole County Public School System than in some others as well.
Thank you, Alan.
So on that, this is day what, 228? 29?
229.
229. So share with the public, it was very touching to me as a community leader that what some of the residents have said about your staff that other counties in this state are not doing in following up. You know, we've done a really good job in following up for those people that have either been quarantined or diagnosed positive. Our staff calls those people on a daily basis to say, hey, do you need food? Do you need a prescription? Do you need any of these things? Do you have family? What can we do to help? And Alan, I don't know if you've got any of that you can share with the public today, but I think it speaks a lot about not only our staff, but our community as a whole.
Well, as far as I know, we are the only county in the state of Florida that is calling all of our residents every day that are COVID positive. I've called other counties to see if they're doing something like that. They are receiving the contact tracing calls, but not the calls to see how they're doing, to see if they need food or medical services or things like that on a daily basis. And we did not communicate before, but I know you heard me talk yesterday during the EOC briefing, and I happen to actually have a copy of that, so I'll just read, and I don't know if Ms. Dubois is in the audience. No, okay, so Ms. Dubois, if you're listening. Ms. Dubois wrote, I have a question. This was actually on social media. Our public information team sent this over. I don't have time to look at all the social media comments and stuff, but they said, hey, Alan, you really need to see this comment from a lady named Ms. Dubois. Says, I have a question. Are y'all the ones that call and check on individuals every day to make sure that they're okay and that if they need anything? I think it is y'all. And I would like to say thank you for my family, to each of you that called us every day to check on us. And immediately after, another individual called and said, I was tested at the end of March, and Seminole County called me every day as well to check on me and to see if I needed food and medicine. Thank you so much. Seminole County is great. These are really nice, but the ones I have to say that that I don't have with me are the ones where we've called the individuals, they can barely breathe. And then we call 911 and they get out there and the EMS crew says, thank God you called them.
Amen.
Our callers in the EOC have saved lives.
That's right.
So I'm very, very proud of them.
No, and we all should be because, I mean, I listened, every morning to the EOC updates and on the Zoom call, and we've helped people get refrigerators delivered during the middle of COVID, and when they're quarantined, we've helped get prescriptions, meals. I mean, literally just about everything.
Rob feed.
Yeah, I mean, it really is amazing that we're able to do that, and it's only because, the board has supported the emergency management operations and continues to do so. So Alan, thank you and thank your staff very much.
And I know y'all do too, but I want to thank Harvest Time International, the Sharing Center, Second Harvest Food Bank, because that's where we get our food that we go and deliver. And if it wasn't for those nonprofit partners, Meals on Wheels, and I'm going to leave some out, and so I'm going to stop saying things, but they do an incredible job, and they're so wonderful.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you. And, I think as far as the metrics and barometer, I think we should have a discussion with Donna Walsh and Dr. Husty, looking at those White House guidelines, if that's something that we should adopt. So if staff could reach out to them and maybe coordinate a briefing, related to that.
I would suggest that we include the hospitals as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. So again, thank you, Alan, very much for all your attention and as well as all your staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Good work. All right. Next up, we got Ms. Guillet giving us a CARES Act update.
Okay. I will try to keep this brief because you have a big agenda, but there are a couple of things that I do want to highlight.
Nicole, we can't
I'm
hear
sorry,
you.
can you hear? Okay, can you hear? I'm going to leave my mask on
You
out
can
of
take your
respect
mask off
for
for social
Brian.
distance. We've got a barricade over there.
I'm awfully close to him, I'm a little concerned, but, okay. So, I'll just run through this. This is just to remind you of what our allocations are. They have not changed since the last time we discussed this. So I include those in your notes, just so you have them as a reference. Also, the program points for the Small Business Assistance Program. The good news on small business assistance is we're getting money out into the community. We're at a little over $11 million in approved assistance for the community. The average award is about $7,200. When we spoke last time, we were at just over $9 million. So we're continuing to move funds out to the businesses that need them. We are starting to see fewer, and I don't know how to get this little strip off the side to hide that, but underneath that, you would see that we're receiving just a few applications every week now. I put on here, I hadn't included this metric in previous ones, but we're getting sort of to the end of the program. We think we have about $13 million total in the hopper still under review, that we're going to get to about 14 million, which is a little more than we had allocated. I'll make those adjustments next time we talk. But I included the denial rate in here. I've been getting some questions on that. So of all the applications we received, we've denied almost 800 of them for a variety of reasons. Either they were not in Seminole County, or they couldn't demonstrate a loss. It's interesting that we've gotten some. I had an appeal on one that they had actually made money during the first 2 quarters of the pandemic. So wonderful for them. So there are a variety of different reasons that you may see a denial, but I just wanted to go ahead and put that rate on there. It's about 40%. And then again, just a reminder of the program metrics for the program criteria for the individual and nonprofit assistance program. I don't know how to move this forward now. Okay, please bear with me here. Here we go. Again, good news in individual assistance in the approval rates. You can see that we stand at about $12 million in approvals for individual assistance. Those are either checks that have gone out or in the hopper to go out. When we talked last time, I think we were at about $5 million. So we've made great strides in moving the individual assistance program. We've gotten into our groove, and we still have a number of applications that are in the final review process. We anticipate that if based on, and I put the denial rate up here as well, we're about 30% on individual assistance. Based on what we've been seeing, we think we'll get to probably about 18 to 20 million on individual assistance. We are, again, we're not receiving applications directly on this because the portal is closed. However, we do have a separate assistance email set up for people can contact us if they're facing eviction. They can contact us directly. Nonprofit assistance, as you'll recall, you allocated up to $3 million. We're closing in on that. This current status of $2.7 million assumes that you will approve the 4 that are presented to you on your consent agenda today. We are getting down to the end of the essential services applications. We do have some other applications in the hopper and we will share them with you so you understand what we are declining to bring forward for funding. There are some things that do not fall in the essential services category. Things like audiovisual equipment for churches, if it's just not an essential service. I know it's an expense that they've had, but probably every church in the county has encountered that. And we don't believe that, based on the demand you saw in individual assistance, that we believe that the funds are better directed towards that than to expenditures such as equipment or some other things that we don't consider and you haven't considered in your funding decisions previously with your community services awards as essential services. This is the page with the numbers on public safety, health, public safety service and health expenditures. There have been a couple of little tweaks on here, but it's pretty consistent. We continue to work with our governmental partners in responding to the pandemic. And things are going well there. Again, just a reminder of what we have allocated for the tourism industry. We have had some great comments and some interactions with our hoteliers Very happy that our sports tourism is starting to pick back up again. Here is the chart that shows you kind of where we are on a spending and expenditures and commitments to date. We're at 57.5 million. That's everything that's committed in the direct assistance programs, what we've committed to the municipalities thus far in the constitutionals, and then our direct expenditures. So the new thing I want to talk to you about today, and I've talked to each of you individually about this, is a concept of taking advantage of what the Treasury Department is calling an administrative accommodation. This first came up under discussion in September, and we've continued to get clarification, working with FAC and also the Treasury Department, getting some guidance from them. Under this administrative accommodation language, as you know, part of the criteria, expenditures have to be related to COVID, obviously, and they have to have not been budgeted as of March 27th of this year. So that excludes regular salaries. We can pay some personnel costs if they're directly related to COVID, overtime, emergency leave. If a person who doesn't normally deal with COVID is significantly directed towards responding to COVID. Steve Fussell is a good example of that. He's been spending most of his time on CARES Act and other things related to COVID. What this accommodation, what Treasury has clarified is they are providing an administrative accommodation that presumes that all public safety personnel are directly related to COVID, and their activities since March have been substantially directed towards COVID response. And as such, that we can assume that they're eligible, reimbursement of their salaries is eligible under the CARES Act, unless we determine otherwise. So they're presuming that they are connected and eligible for reimbursement under CARES Act funding. That would mean the Florida Department of Environmental Emergency Management has determined that sheriff department personnel, correctional personnel, fire department personnel are all considered public safety. And so their salaries, their regular budgeted salaries, are reimbursable under the CARES Act from March until the end of this year. It's not what we intended to use CARES Act money for. We intended that $82 million that has come to this county, you have been very clear that you want it to go out as direct assistance and to make our partnership agencies that are responding to the pandemic whole with respect to their COVID costs. I'm suggesting to you, and have talked with each of you individually about this, that we consider taking advantage of this administrative accommodation, because it will give us an opportunity to, in a very low-risk way, access our CARES Act dollars quickly. We're estimating that we would be in the neighborhood of $60 million of reimbursable salaries. That's not counting the fire department salaries, and I'll explain to you why I'm not including them. Because under my proposal to you is that we pursue this administrative accommodation not to reimburse ourselves for regular budgeted salaries, but to allow ourselves to quickly access and safely access all of the allocation that's available to Seminole County, and then take the general fund dollars that would be supplemented, replaced with the reimbursement dollars from CARES Act for those public safety salaries, and put that money back into the Seminole CARES program, so that the Seminole CARES program would remain as those allocations were shown on the first slide. It would remain at $82 million, but that $82 million would not all come directly from the CARES Act. It would be channeled through the general fund back into the Seminole CARES program. So I've been very concerned that there might be a perception that we were making a grab for the money just to pad our budgets, and that's not the intent. I just think it's an opportunity for us to ensure that this county and this community receives all of the CARES Act dollars that are available in a way that we can ensure it's very low risk, so the clawback opportunity and potential is minimized, And it gives me a greater level of comfort to think we're going to have $82 million to invest back into the community and to give back to our partnership agencies that are all responding to the pandemic. So I've put together some recommendations and considerations that reflect that. And I'm going to ask for your authorization today to move forward with this opportunity to seek reimbursement under this administrative accommodation with these principles in mind, that clearly say it is not our intention to redirect any of that $82 million away from COVID response. It is simply an opportunity to leverage general fund dollars. And it's general fund dollars, which is why I'm not including fire department personnel as a reimbursement, something we would seek reimbursement for, because that money would just have to go back in the fire department fund, which I'm sure would make some folks very happy. But it would limit our opportunity to continue to use those funds for COVID response. So,
Mr. Chairman?
So that, based on those five principles, I'm asking you to, as you always do, approve the allocations that are included in the presentation today, and then also authorize pursuit of that administrative accommodation consistent with the principles included in this report.
Okay? Is that
Mr.
it,
Chairman?
Ms. Guillet?
That's it.
Great, thank you very much for the presentation. There's no question, I think, we are aware of the sheriff's, expenses that have incurred at the jail with the outbreak of the COVID in the jail, which now apparently is pretty much under control, as well as the opioid abuse and mental health crisis that, this has also spawned and spurred and ticked up. So there's been a lot of expenses, I think, on the law enforcement side, no question. Commissioner DeLaury?
Mr. Chairman, I would wholeheartedly agree with you and the county manager. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the county manager's request for administrative action to also include the five points that they made to keep the CARES Act funding whole.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? I'll call roll. Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
Commissioner DeLaury?
Aye.
Commissioner Carey?
Aye.
Commissioner Constantine?
Yes.
Commissioner Zembauer, yes. Ms. Guillet, you have your direction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very kindly. All right, now we're going to move into our awards and presentations portion of the meeting. We're going to start this morning with a presentation number one, presenting Christina Diaz, Seminole County Fire Marshal of the Year 2020 Award. John Pascalone, Executive Director for the Florida Fire Marshals and Inspectors Association, is here, as well as David Woodside, who is the president of that association. Welcome, gentlemen. If you would be so kind, step up. Feel free to speak. If you'll keep your social distance, feel free to take your mask off at the podium. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. County Manager, thank you for this opportunity for us to share. Commissioner, good news. My name is Dave Woodside. I'm the president of the Florida Fire Marshals and Inspectors Association that represents inspectors throughout the state of Florida. The association is involved with the International Fire Marshals Association, and we bring a lot of information to the State Fire Marshal's office. This morning's award is a prestigious award because we are recognizing the Fire Marshal of the Year. She is recognized by her peers for the work she has done in community risk reduction in making Seminole County safe. These usually you don't hear about, like you did just the EM report, and by the way, great work in EM with the COVID response, and I commend you for your support to that. Great job. But this award is similar to that, where everyone sees the work that's being done here in Seminole County and making a difference for the citizens. And it's an honor and a privilege to come here and be able to present this award. I'm going to have our executive director read the accolades for our recipient.
Thank you, Mr. Woodside.
Thank you, President Woodside, members of the board, county manager, Chief Droz in the audience. You've got a really good man right there. I want you to know I've known him for longer than I'd probably like to admit. Distinguished citizens of Seminole County, what an honor it is to be here today. I see some familiar faces. Senator Constantine, many years ago. We've had discussions up in Tallahassee, and that's what our organization does. You know, we reach out and we find people and we make things happen, and it's great. And I just want to say this, COVID has really presented an opportunity for us, because in past years, this award is presented in front of Christina's peers at our annual conference. There might be 250, 300 people there, but they're people that, you know, may have heard of Christina. These are the people today, we're able to come to you and make this presentation to her leaders, to her community leaders, to her boss, her fire chief, to her family that is able to be here today, to the citizens of Seminole County. And to me, I consider this a very great honor to be able to present this award every year. But today, we're here for Christina Diaz, and I'd like to read the nomination, some highlights of this. On behalf of our fire prevention team, I'm writing this letter to nominate Christina Diaz for the Fire Marshal of the Year. Christina is the backbone to our fire prevention department, and she's an asset to Seminole County Fire Department and the community. Anyone who has met her knows that she holds herself to an extremely high standard. She strives every day to be the most proactive and supportive boss, mother, wife, sister, aunt, and friend. She became a fire inspector almost 14 years ago and has worked her way to our fire marshal. We'd like to express our admiration for our superior by providing you with a summary of her job duties, projects, and words from her peers. Now, that's very important. This nomination is, and I'm not going to read them all to you, but just let you know, her peers her subordinates think very, very highly of her leadership skills. So that's a testament to all of you, testament to Chief Droz, testament to the whole community. Christina has made extensive changes within the Fire Prevention Department during her time as the Fire Marshal. She took this department, provided it with structure and future goals. She spearheaded the development of our fee study, which I'm sure you support, which will allow us to grow and flourish, providing us with ample opportunities that would not have been possible. She's been involved in projects including universal inspection of food trucks, which is a statewide issue. All over the state of Florida, we have to address food truck issues for safety purposes. She's been part of and a large contributing factor to the I-4 Ultimate project. I'm not really sure what that is, but I'm sure you do.
Yes, we do.
Everyone
But
does.
it says it affects almost the entire state of Florida. Fire Marshal Diaz, these are from her peers. Fire Marshal Diaz sets the example for fire prevention and life safety. She's a true subject matter expert in understanding written code and applying to real-world situations. That's very important in a fire marshal's world. A lot of phone calls that you may get as a county commissioner or a county manager, that fire marshal's making me do this. But if you apply the code consistently and effectively, then that should make your life a whole lot easier.
It does.
And apparently Christina's doing a good job with that. She's proven to be strong, brave, and courageous, yet to be filled with kindness that enables her to give a lot to others. And she's sitting in the back of the room. She really needs to work her way up this way. And she's a very shy person. I know that personally from knowing her. Since I've met her, she has demonstrated all of these qualities while performing any job position along her career. On her current fire marshal's role, her character has brought so much benefit to improve our work efficiency, develop a better structure to our fire prevention department, while facing a lot of barriers, changes, and challenges during this global pandemic. Her leadership is setting a better vision for a great teamwork dynamic within our department. And I'll read one last one. Christina has been a role model for me, a woman who has worked diligently to be in the position she is, who manages work life, home life, and makes it look easy, and who makes sure her employees know she cares. Having a supervisor who cares about you as an individual and who wants to provide you with all the tools she can so you can succeed is something that is rarely seen. She makes us her top priority, and we all know we can depend on her to have our back. She's made this team strong and has provided us with a clear path to our goals for fire prevention. For anyone who has met Christina, they will see the passion she has for life safety and how seriously she takes her role as the county fire marshal. Christina is a supervisor that'll be with us in the fire, and that is something I can only hope for one day. At this time, I would ask President David Woodside to make the formal presentation to our Fire Marshal of the Year, Ms. Christina Diaz. Commissioners, if appropriate, would love to have the opportunity for a photo
Yeah, why don't
shot
we
in the
do
well.
this? John, why don't you and David come to the center, invite Ms. Diaz's family up for a photo with her and getting the presentation? And then the commission, after that's done, we can join as well. Get some with the... Chief, do you care to say anything after Ms. Diaz?
Thank you, John.
Thanks, guys, for coming.
All right, well, congratulations, Ms. Diaz. I know that you are doing your job because I get a lot of calls. That fire marshal. I said, well, she's doing her job then. Congratulations to
Thank
you
you.
for all the hard work that you've put in to earn this distinguished honor, and thank you on behalf of the Board of County Commission as well as the citizens of this county.
Thank you so much.
Please proceed.
It's funny you say that because the way that I was notified of this award actually was a joke that my fire chief played on me, where he called me into his office and told me that a complaint came from the state, actually, and that, it's going to affect the entire state, the way I'm perceiving or interpreting a code. And so he brought me into the conference room, and all the chiefs are there, and I'm like, it's enough to be a woman in the fire service, but then to get rolled over in front of all of them. So, so then, I get the notification that I actually won this award, and it wasn't that I was in trouble, which was a sigh of relief. But then after that, all I could say was thank you. And then John said, well, you need to work on that speech, Christina. So, but I was trying to get blood back into my body at that point. So I made it to the point this time to write something, so I'll say more than just thank you. So as I stand here today, I'm still surprised, honored, and humbled to be accepting such an award. I'd first like to thank our chairman, our county manager, and all Seminole County Commissioners for allowing recognition of this award today during your meeting. I'd also like to thank FFMIA and its members represented for not only taking the time to come down and present this award to me, but also providing the opportunity to place fire prevention in the spotlight and reflect what it represents not only for this county, but for the entire state of Florida. Today, I may be the one recognized, but I only stand here representing the hard work, commitment, and dedication of both my personal and professional family. I take great pride in working for Seminole County Fire Department, as many have contributed to the success of the Fire Prevention Division. Firstly, my inspectors, who not only nominated me for this award, but who support me and have faith in me to follow my lead and give me 110%, even when they sometimes don't agree with me. Please know you are the backbone of our division and are essential as you ensure the safety of lives and property from the hazards of fire. Thank you. To all my fellow chief officers who have stood beside me through this process while I've attempted to maneuver and grow since stepping into this position, thank you. And to my fire chief, Chief Droz, who has been vital in my growth as he challenges me daily, but he also mentors me to make sure that I'm successful. Thank you. I'm proud to stand here. My parents were supposed to be here, thankfully to virtual. They're here. My mom had surgery yesterday.
Oh, my.
So she's recovering well, thank God. But she was supposed to be here. But as I stand before them still, they've always exemplified hard work and true commitment. Things were not always easy, but they always made things possible for us, even when it took sweat and tears. They have always been a driving force in my life and have made me into the person I am today. Their love and their support has allowed me to grow strong wings, and because of this, I have been able to soar high. So thank you for always believing in me. To my husband, Carlos, my babies, Isaiah and Jade, you have sacrificed time away from me so that I may be able to help others and not only achieve this position within the fire department, but be successful within it. I love you, honey. Your love, your support has been endless. You've always pushed me to follow my dreams and provided me with the means to make it possible. My babies, just having you both in my life have been the fuel that pushes me daily. I want to always be a reflection of the advice I give you. Work hard for the things you want, or you will never appreciate the things you have. But first and foremost, place God first in all things, as without him, nothing is possible. But with him, all things are possible, because where we are weak, he is strong. I've also found the position within fire prevention to be challenging. Maybe that's why I pursued this position, because I've always liked the challenge. Serving within the fire prevention division is a task that requires passion and dedication. It can be easy to serve in a division where you're loved for your actions of heroism, but it's quite different when your customers don't necessarily care about you. Within fire prevention, we are not perceived as lifesavers who fight fires or even police officers who put away the bad guys. Inspectors have the responsibility of fire code enforcement and the difficulties involved in making others understand the value of our fire prevention efforts. So what drives you, Christina? What drives your inspectors? Well, recently, actually, I had the opportunity to understand the answer to this question in a wide spectrum. See, lately I've been training as an EMT, so on the weekends, I work 12-hour shifts in some of our fire stations. And so, as I drive in the back of the rescue, I get to listen to the sirens blare as we travel down the streets in response to someone who needs our help. As we get the patients in the truck, I'm able to utilize vital machinery, which helps in our adequate life-saving measures. And then finally, after dropping the patients off at the hospital, cleaning up the truck, I get to sit back there and take it all in. While doing so, I thought about the dependency we have on the things surrounding us and never really thinking about all those involved who make it possible. My husband and my dad actually build ambulances for a living. My husband has worked almost 20 years in this service, and his passion and his drive for it, even today, is unrecognizable. He always says to me when he sees the truck passing with the lights and sirens, and he says, I know I'm making a difference, honey, because I know that because of those lights, those sirens, those things that I install in that truck, they're able to go help that person in need. So you see, every time there is an apartment fire in our community, and I know everyone escaped safely because they were notified by a working fire alarm system, I know I made a difference. Every time a business does not need to close their doors for long or indefinitely due to an overnight fire because it was extinguished by one sprinkler head and provided minimum fire damage, I know I made a difference. And when those families stand outside their home after a fire in their home, and they're sad about the materials they lost, but they're still together because of the working smoke alarm, I know I made a difference. So in closing, I would like to take time to recognize and applaud all those, whether in the forefront or working in the background, as you should take pride in what you do, because we all make a difference within the community we serve.
Thank you, and congratulations again. And folks, that's what makes Seminole County who we are.
Amen.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Chief, would you like to say a few words?
So I'm not frequently at a loss of words, but certainly when we were notified that Christina had gotten this honor, and we looked at what her peers had written, and we know all those things that she spoke about, to be true. We were certainly honored that she's working here within Seminole County. And when you're honored with an award like this, some people will say you've reached the epitome of your career, but what I can tell each one of you with confidence is Christina has a high ceiling that she hasn't hit yet, and we're going to keep on pushing her to hit that ceiling. And the ones that will benefit are each one of the community members of Seminole County.
Amen.
So thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you
Thank you.
again. Thank you, Christina. Beautiful family. Thank you very much. Next, we are going to have the presentation. Commissioner Lockhart will read the proclamation recognizing Petty Officer 3 Lisa M. Holder, United States Navy, as the April Veteran of the Month.
All right, thank you so much. Commissioners, I'd like to move the following proclamation recognizing Lisa Holder, United States Navy, for her outstanding service to the United States and Seminole County. Whereas throughout our history, courageous men and women have donned the uniform of our armed forces and built a noble tradition of faithful and dedicated service to our nation. And whereas we salute their bravery and dedication to the defense of our democracy and the sovereignty of freedom-loving nations around the world, and recognize that it is an extraordinary person who willingly steps into harm's way to protect others and to defend freedom. And whereas we owe our military personnel a debt of gratitude which can never be fully repaid, and recognize our local veterans for their service. And whereas Petty Officer 3 Lisa M. Holder enlisted in the U.S. Navy August 5, 1984, she was assigned as a chaplain's assistant at Guantanamo Bay Naval Base, Cuba, for 1 year. Her duties included acting as a counselor, providing backup for the assigned chaplains, preparing spaces for religious ceremonies, weddings, funerals, synchronizing religious support in the operating environment. During this time, she patrolled the fence of the Guantanamo Naval Base via helicopter while escorting a visiting chaplain from Washington, D.C. And whereas Petty Officer 3 Holder was subsequently assigned to the Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, California, changing from Navy whites into Marine camouflage, she assisted in all chapel activities for all religious faiths, safeguarding privileged communications, conducting crisis interventions, coordinating traumatic event management, and ensuring her Marines got the counseling they needed in difficult situations. Other duties included chauffeuring and escorting Navy and other visiting chaplains. And whereas Petty Officer 3 Holder was discharged on August 4, 1988, upon returning to civilian life, she went to the Florida International University using the GI Bill and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Communications in 1993. Working in Miami with public radio and television and other nonprofits, she returned to school and graduated with a master's degree in public administration in 2001 from Strayer University. She has been a resident of Seminole County since 2000 and is currently the communications officer for the City of Sanford for over 8 years, where she is the primary media contact. She administers the city's social media platform and all aspects of the city's multimedia efforts, such as the podcast Sanford Says. And whereas Petty Officer 3 Holder military awards and recognitions include the Overseas Medal, the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, and the Navy Good Conduct Medal, she sits on the board of directors of the Florida League of Cities Communicators Association, is a graduate of Leadership Seminole and the Seminole County Public School Leadership Academy. And now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Board of County Commissioners of Seminole County, Florida, express our gratitude, admiration, and respect for Petty Officer 3 Lisa M. Holder, United States Navy, for her outstanding service to the United States and the residents of Seminole County. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be presented to Petty Officer 3 Lisa M. Holder, along with our sincere congratulations and recognition as Seminole County's Veteran of the Month.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Ms. Holder, if you would join the commission down here for your proclamation, please. We'll get some photographs. Congratulations.
My grandfather in the Navy, World War II, Sea
Nice.
Station in the Pacific.
Commissioners and Chairman. I am totally in awe the way you have summarized my life and my career in the Navy. I couldn't even imagine, and I am so grateful for this opportunity. And I want to thank all the other veterans, my fellow veterans and women veterans in that aspect as well. And this is a true honor, and I cannot say any more than that. It is wonderful, and thank you, Seminole County, for that. This resolution says everything. It really does. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Next up, we have Ed Burford is with us this morning to receive his retirement resolution for serving Seminole County as a Veterans Service Officer. This will be read by Commissioner Lee Constantine, honoring the contributions of Robert Ed Burford in Seminole County, Florida. Commissioner?
Thank you very much. And you can see that Ed is in retirement mode. Look at his socks. I move the resolution of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners honoring the contributions of Robert Ed Burford in Seminole County, Florida. Whereas Mr. Robert Ed Burford began his career in the United States Army in 1970, enlisting with the Army Security Agency. He got married, started a family, then shipped out to Vietnam in 1972. And whereas when Mr. Ed Burford's enlistment was over, he re-enlisted with the military intelligence and became a counterintelligence special agent, where he served with distinction around the world in service of his country until his retirement as Chief Warrant Officer in 1993. And whereas, upon returning to civilian life, Mr. Ed Burford dedicated himself to assisting veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces most in need, especially those with visible and invisible combat wounds, through positions at the state of Florida, Job Corps, and the University of Florida. And whereas Mr. Ed Burford continued his lifetime of selfless public service when he became the Seminole County Veterans Services Officer in August of 2009, with the mission of providing services and support to Seminole County's 35,000 veterans and their families. And whereas Mr. Ed Burford was the county's first veteran service officer, which was very instrumental in hosting our annual Homeless Veterans Stand Down, our Veterans Appreciation Luncheon, as well as the Master of Ceremonies at Sanford's Veterans Day and Memorial Day parades. And whereas Mr. Burford was essential in aiding our commissioners in establishing recognition to our outstanding Seminole County veterans on the Veterans of the Month program. And whereas Mr. Ed Burford's exemplary service is embodied through the thousands of lives he has touched, as well as the countless claims and appeals won on their behalf. And whereas the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners wishes to express its appreciation to Mr. Ed Burford on behalf of the staff and citizens of Seminole County for his dedicated services. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners acknowledges with appreciation the service provided to Seminole County by Mr. Ed Burford and commends him for his outstanding service, dedication, and commitment to the community and the veterans of Seminole County.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, also unanimous. Ed, please, if you'll come down and get your proclamation. Congratulations, thank you.
He just said it was the first time he's worn long pants since he retired. And their jeans. I've got my ride Who works at the Marriott here in Lake Mary? Seminole County Public Schools.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I would like to say a couple words. You know, the 11 years I was with Seminole County have been very rewarding, and during the most of that 11 years, I had an associate that worked with me, and I'd like to say thank you, Kathy Schubert. For those 11 years, Kathy and I averaged about 14,000 public contacts a year. Now, when you start to add those up, that's roughly 60, 70,000 each during that time period. When I was first hired, when I first interviewed, I was asked a question: what do I want to bring to the position? My response was I wanted to be the face and voice of veterans in Seminole County. I think to some degree I've accomplished that. Commissioner Constantine, it was you that brought up, let's start a Veteran of the Month. And we have seen coming through here numerous veterans. We've seen Joe Kittinger come through. We saw Captain Robbie, United States Navy, retired. Captain Robbie, he's over 100 years old now. Captain Robbie flew seaplanes in the South Pacific and was shot down on the third day of the war. He landed safely, fixed his aircraft, and returned to the war. You know, we saw the gentleman who was shot down in Korea and was sent into China and was sentenced to 100 years for war crimes. So we've seen these people come through. The gentleman who turned into an international cartoonist and had letters from 5 sitting presidents. Those are stories that we have to cherish. This is part of my story right here. But you know, we have other veterans out there, and if I would ask how many veterans and have them hold up their hands, you would see the veterans in this room. We see the gentleman that hasn't received this recognition, who's a Marine in Vietnam and was dragged into the jungle by a tiger and was mauled before the tiger was killed. The Marine in Vietnam who went from private to sergeant in a matter of 3 months. Why? Because his chain of command had been killed or wounded, and he was senior, and you had to be a sergeant to call in fire support. These are the stories that we have out there, and our 35,000 veterans all have a story. About 6-8 months after I was hired, I asked the then county manager if I could try to put together a video about veterans in Seminole County. He reluctantly said, well, if you can talk SGTV into it, have at it. Well, we did, and it turned into an hour's labor of love. And Kurt and Paul were great help in putting that together. It's called A Walk in Time with Seminole County Veterans. I couldn't interview all 35,000, but I could interview 8. And we tell their stories from World War II through Desert Storm. And to an individual, man and women, because they're both on my video, 3 things were apparent: their love of country, their pride in their service, and they would do it all over again.
Amen.
To you, I make that same commitment. Thank you very much. My name is Ed. I'm a veteran, and I'm very proud of it.
Thank you, Ed. Fantastic work. Great work. Ed has touched so many lives and done so many things for our veterans here in Seminole County. It's amazing the task that he's pulled off in these 11 years.
Well, this has been such a great morning. I think we should all just go home now.
Right.
Call it a day.
That's why
It's been great.
I always urge my children, when you wake up in the morning and you see the daylight, you got two people to thank, God above and a veteran, to have that freedom to be able to enjoy that. So next up, we have Ms. Susan Forbes from Senior Vice President with One Blood is here for a presentation to the Board of County Commission today. Good morning, Ms. Forbes.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us here today. We are here for a couple of reasons. One, to say thank you, and the other one, to remind people about this ongoing need for a ready blood supply in the middle of a pandemic. It is a challenge on any day to ensure a ready blood supply, let alone in the middle of a pandemic. So we continue to look for opportunities to put this front and center, to encourage the community to continue to help and ensure a sustained donor response. And Seminole County has been tremendous in helping ensure that happen. I'm here today with my colleagues, Katie Reilly, who is the Director of Collections for many parts of Central Florida, including Seminole County, and also Rebecca Williams, who is an account representative who works very closely here with people in Seminole County to book the Big Red Bus. So everybody knows the Big Red Bus. And, you know, we are very appreciative of the efforts that have taken place here in Seminole County to partner with us, to have these blood drives, because we have not, since the pandemic has begun, it has been very difficult to find locations to take the Big Red Bus to have blood drives. Our operations really have been indefinitely disrupted as to where we can go to have blood drives, yet the need for blood continues. We can't go to movie theaters anymore. We can't go to high schools, colleges, universities to the tune that we used to go to, because many of them are not resuming blood drives yet. Those are very important blood drives. High schools and colleges alone account for about 20% of the blood supply. So when you see many businesses still having distance work happening, that impacts the participation rate at blood drives whenever we go there to have drives. So all of these things combined continue to impact the blood supply, and it's important that people who are eligible to donate please step forward to do so. We continue to have 2 tracks of the blood supply taking place. We have the general blood supply, which is helping save patients in our counties every day, cancer patients, premature babies, trauma patients, sickle cell patients. The list goes on and on of the amount of people who need blood donations on a regular basis to live. There is no substitute for blood, so it can only come from blood donors. And on top of the general blood supply needs, we also have an ongoing need for people who have recovered from COVID-19 to be convalescent plasma donors. The convalescent plasma can only come from people who have recovered from COVID-19 because they develop antibodies to the virus, and by transfusing their plasma into people still fighting the virus, it can potentially boost their immune system and help them recover. So as long as we're in a pandemic, there is an ongoing need for people who have recovered from COVID-19 to be the convalescent plasma donor. So I share all of that with you to remind people of this ongoing need for blood donors and convalescent plasma donors as well. And all of the efforts that have taken place here in Seminole County, we want to be able to recognize today, and we are appreciative to the county and to the county commissioners for your ongoing support, including us in your press conferences and inviting us to have blood drives. You've gotten very creative with us, which is what we need people to do, is to get creative to have blood drives. We just because we can't go where we used to go doesn't mean we stop. We have to keep going and find places to go. And Seminole County got creative and started having blood drives at all of your parks. And that has been a huge help in helping be able to book the Big Red Bus. You've now had 5 blood drives since the start of the pandemic at these parks. And those blood drives now have accounted for over 400, let me give you the exact number. You've had 418 pints of blood have been collected at those blood drives, and you have a 6th one coming up starting on December 1st, which you can book an appointment at oneblood.org. And but it's important to understand what you've done there is by having the sustained response. You are continuing to have these blood drives, and leading by example is helping bring out locations for our residents here in Seminole County to have these blood drives and to come and donate blood safely and help save lives. Those 418 pints of blood that have been collected, each donation can save up to 3 lives, and that means over 1,254 lives have been impacted by those blood drives that you have had here at those parks. So we thank you. Our hospital partners thank you, and those blood recipients, thank you. Blood recipients are all around us. I guarantee you there's some in this room today, and blood donors truly are those unsung heroes in our community who literally are helping save people's lives. So we thank you for your efforts, and we want to recognize all of you, and we have an award for you. We also want to recognize the chairperson for this. Ashley has been, your communications officer, has partnered with us to work with our team in booking the Big Red Bus. The incredible efforts of promoting these blood drives have brought out the people to come to participate at these blood drives, so we thank Ashley Moore as well, and we would like to recognize both of you with a plaque this morning. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Forbes. Appreciate it very much. The commission would join everybody on the floor for some photos. Well, thank you to One Blood, and I would remind the public that go to oneblood.org as well as our website. As we schedule these blood drives throughout the county, it truly is a gift that gives to many. As a rare blood type myself, it is often troubling to try to find particular bloods when they're needed. So we urge all residents that are capable to get out and donate their blood. All right, with that said, we're going to take a quick 5-minute recess, then we'll move into our public participation portion of the meeting. Try to be back here by 5 till.
Okay.
All right, stand adjourned until then.
Okay.
We're now moved to the public participation portion of the Seminole County Board of County Commission meeting. Pursuant to Florida law, the public has a right to be heard on all propositions except when the Board of County Commissioners is acting on ministerial or emerging matters, or conducting a meeting exempt from Section 286.011. Florida statutes, public comment time on positions shall be limited to 3 minutes for individuals and 6 minutes for group representatives. The right to be heard during quasi-judicial hearings is governed by Florida law. The public will be provided the opportunity to be heard on non-agenda matters at the end of the meeting. Proper decorum will be observed. If members of the public would like to make a comment or are attending the meeting in person, you will be called on first. If using a computer, iPad, or other electronic devices, click on the Raise Hand feature and you will be called on next. Lastly, if you have called in on a telephone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. You'll be called on in the order you've raised your hand. Do we have anyone, Clint, here to weigh in on consent items 5 through 64?
I have no hands raised.
No hands raised, okay. Thank you. County Manager, you have some deletions or actions you have on several of these items before we proceed?
Yes, sir. We've pulled 3 items from the consent agenda. Item number 20, which is the agreement related to impact homelessness. We'll bring that back to you. We're reformatting some of the exhibits. Item number 26, which is a plat for East Grove, we've pulled that at the request of the applicant. They could not be here today and asked us to postpone that. And item number 51, which involved revisions to the purchasing policy, we will bring that back to you at your next meeting. No other changes, sir.
Okay. So we have 5 through 64, less 20, 26, and 51. And is there anyone here in the meeting in person that desires to speak other than the one speaker form that I have before me? Seeing none, Mr. Emery Green Jr., Midway Coalition, welcome this morning, sir, if you would, please, to the podium. Feel free to take your mask off when you get there. And you're here to speak on item 26, which you understand has been pulled from the agenda at this point?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Yes,
see
sir.
that's been pulled.
Well, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you all for your service. I think what might be best is to come back once that's on the agenda and we can address it at that time.
Sure.
So that might be best.
Okay, great.
All right.
We sincerely appreciate it, and if staff, if you would reach out to the Midway Coalition if they have some concerns with any of that, if you would have dialogue with them, it would be
Sure.
very helpful with the public.
Mr.
That would be
Green?
great. Yes.
If you could give your contact information to Rebecca in the back, we'll make sure that you know when this is coming back.
Will do. I would like to make a couple comments if I
Sure,
could.
please, proceed.
Let me first say on behalf of the Midway Coalition and the residents we represent, we are celebrating our 100-year anniversary this year. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background on the community, for those who may not know about it, the Midway Canaan community or Midway Canaan City was established for migrants in the 1920s. Those migrants worked many of the celery fields and agricultural fields that are now housed or have been built upon that are surrounding the community along Beardall, Brisson, State Road 46, which the airport is on the other side, and Celery Avenue. With that being said, we are not only a proud community, but we have also been working diligently to bring more attention to our community as well as the concerns that we have. And Seminole County government has, since we've come in 2018, has been proactive in ensuring that those concerns have been met or are being addressed at the rate as quickly as they can. We do understand that things take time, but understanding due process, we know that after this election, there's going to be a vital time for us to prioritize certain equitable investments that our community so desperately needs. After 100 years of existence, we've had quite a bit happen and not so much happen. So we look forward to working with Seminole County and the city of Sanford together in forging a way that we can best allow our community, our historic community, to continue to grow, prosper, and receive equitable investments across the board for it to be sustainable, and also to receive all of the benefits that the Florida's Natural Choice provides. So thank you again for this time to speak, and I look forward to meeting with each of you individually as time moves forward.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Green. Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Green.
Please.
Mr. Green, I'm sorry to say I'm not that familiar with the anniversary. When is the anniversary of 100 years?
So 2020, per the Seminole County Historic Marker, it states and reads that Midway Canaan City was established in the 1920s, and prior to that, in the late 1800s, there were some migrants already here. So we're going by what the Seminole County Historic Marker reads, and we are celebrating that this year with our second annual Midway Community Day 5K. Last year was our inaugural 5K, run, walk, and roll. You can run in it, you can walk in it, or we have a motorcycle convoy that rolls from Seminole Harley-Davidson to our community. In the first year of existence, and these were from supporters directly from the community, residents and businesses. In its first year, as you know, many first-year events don't raise a significant amount of money, but we were grateful through the support of our loyal residents and businesses to raise well over $23,000.
That's great.
Fantastic.
That money stayed in the community. And since then, we're looking to move forward with some other major projects, but that's how we are recognizing our 100 year.
Mr. Green, when is that actual
That
run,
event
walk,
is
roll?
on November the 14th in Midway, and you can get some information from our website, which is communityday5k.com, or you can follow us on Facebook at Midway Coalition or facebook.com/Midway Coalition.
Thank you.
Great.
All right?
Could you
Thank
write
so
a
much.
bicycle in it there, Emery?
Say that again?
Did you write a bicycle in it?
Oh, I don't know about a bicycle. Motorized and street legal only, but we'll see if we can work that out in the future.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Green. We
Thank you
appreciate
again.
it very
All
much.
right.
Thank
Be well.
Mr. Chairman, before Mr. Green
Yes,
leaves,
up.
can we do a resolution at the next meeting to actually present to them at their event?
Sure, absolutely. Happy to. Happy to. We'll have staff get with your folks and make sure we get all the details and information who would like to be present.
All right.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Green. All right. Is there anyone else here in the audience that desires to speak on the consent item agenda? Clint, is there anyone on the phone?
No, sir.
Okay, seeing none in the audience, seeing none on the virtual, I'll move to board direction and action.
Mr. Chairman? I would like to
Commissioner
pull-
Commissioner Delory?
I would like to pull item number 60, if I may.
Item 60.
Okay. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anyone else?
I'd like to pull 5.
Item number 5. Constantine. Okay. Commissioner Lockhart, do you have any?
I do not, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Carey, do you have any?
No, sir.
Thank you. Okay. So that will give us consent agenda items 5 through 64 minus 20, 26, 51, and 60.
And 5.
And 5.
And 5.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda items 5 through 64, excluding 5, 20, 26, 51, and 60.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 I'll call the roll since we have one commissioner that's virtual. Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
Delory?
Aye.
Carey?
Aye.
Constantine?
Yes?
Zembauer? Yes. Okay, we will go to item number 5. That was Commissioner Constantine's.
Thank you very much. And the only reason I pulled this is because, if you served in World War II and you're over 100 years old and you're here today, I think that at least whoever might be watching needs to understand there are two people here. Ed Burford talked about it a little bit earlier about some others, but here are two individuals who live in our county, our community, Oviedo specifically, and that Post 243 of the American Legion was recognizing at the end of the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. And these individuals, I just wanted to bring, I think, since it's Port-au-Prince, since he was from Port-au-Prince, it's probably French, so I'm going to say Raymond Saginaw was one of the 5 individuals who enlisted in the Haitian Army in 1942 in the Aviation Corps and flew in Europe and the Caribbean Theater. He lives in Oviedo now, and he's the last survivor of that group. And then there's John Henry Cheney, who was 100 years old and fought in Iwo Jima, Marine in Iwo Jima. And he survived cancer and an early bout of COVID-19. And I just, we are recognizing them, but I thought that just we should present their names to everybody out here as the chairman mentioned, you thank God and you thank a veteran. Well, you thank these people for still having this country. And that's all. And I
Agreed.
will move the approval of the proclamation.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
Commissioner Delory,
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Constantine?
Yes?
Commissioner Zembauer, yes. Very good. Next item on the agenda is item 60, which was pulled by Commissioner Delory. Commissioner Delory, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This project is the Rolling Hills Area Road Improvements. We've been briefed on this many times in some of our workshops that we've had. It's a project that truly goes hand in glove with Rolling Hills. I think it's important for us to realize that. There's been a lot of public involvement in looking at the packet, and all 3 firms are very capable of providing the engineering design for a road project. But this is truly more than a road project. It has to do with the community, because we're actually building a community around Rolling Hills. The 3 roads that we're going to be looking at, they're going to be looking at improving is very important. There's been extensive community involvement. And the company that actually saw the first part of this to get it this far is HDR. And looking at it, I really believe that the ranking should be changed a little bit, that HDR should be ranked number 1 because of all their community involvement in this first phase of the project. And because of that, that's why I pulled that, Mr. Chairman, because it truly is about community, and they actually heard with all the community involvement about all the things that are important, and that's how we came to the consensus of design for it. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we rank HDR number 1 and Horizon number 2. That'd be my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have any second
I'll
before we
second
get into
for-
discussion?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, got a second by Commissioner Lockhart. Discussion? Yeah, I would like to solicit some additional information from Commissioner Delory and maybe staff on the ranking and what the thought process was there.
Because the reason why I'm doing it is because it's not a road project, even though it's solicited as a road project. It's really, you're building a community project, and which involves a road. And with all the community involvement that the firm did, I really think that they should see it through. And I think it's vital that we actually do it that way.
So you're saying continuity of work that's already been performed?
Correct. And not just that, but the continuity of the public input.
Okay. Who from staff would like to speak to this? Mr. Dredge or Rick Durr, being it's Rolling Hills? Ms.
I'd like to have
Cohen, you're
I'd
in
like to have
purchasing. Mr. Abel? Whoever can shed the most light and most information for us. So, Mr. Abel, if you would, it sounds like Commissioner Delory is suggesting we re-rank these, concern of continuity of work that's has been done, proposed to be done. Can you speak to us about that a little bit?
Well, I can speak to 2 things. Joe Abel, Deputy County Manager. I happen to be on that selection committee or the evaluation committee. 2 things. One is we had 5 members 5 members on the evaluation committee. Each one does this separate evaluation, and then we have discussion, and then it's the combination of the scoring and ranking. So the outcome is based on the point system as the group as a whole. That again comes to you, and then you have the discretion to make adjustments as you choose. Secondly, one of the reasons, and as a member of the evaluation committee, not that certainly mine has any more higher ranking than anybody else's, but that was one of the reasons that I had HDR ranked higher, is the fact that they had the ongoing continuity of the public meetings and of the input from the community, as well as some of the design aspects. But again, mine was one evaluation of 5. And again, that my evaluation should not sway your decision, other than, you had 5 evaluators, and you have the discretion to do with those as you choose.
So from a continuity standpoint, HDR has done the majority or lion's share of work out there, is that correct?
They did. They were the firm involved in all of the initial data finding, analysis, community input, everything up to this point. They were the lead, or they were the agency engaged in that process.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Constantine?
I think that Commissioner Delory has brought up a very good point, and I think it was just confirmed for me by Mr. Abel, in that in looking at this and talking to the citizens, I mean, they're excited about the prospects out there, not just with the presentation that we had at the last meeting, but also the entire flow of what we're trying to do within the context of that area. And I can recall, and I know many of you can, when there were certain citizens on North Street that was coming here almost every meeting and upset about the flow and the speed of the traffic that was going on here. I have heard from those neighbors, and they are ecstatic about the prospects of what we have done. So with that, in that context, then I think that it is important that we keep the continuity flowing, and that we ensure that the individual group that has worked with the citizens, has the confidence of the citizens, continue in the process. So I will support the motion, and I just wanted to let everyone know the way I felt.
Commissioner Carey?
Well, this is a master services agreement, and it's not uncommon even for us to, it means there's going to be multiple projects. This isn't just one project. This is 6 different, things that they're looking at. I mean, I can go either way. The scores were 1 point apart on all 3, but, maybe you award the 2 and then do it through work orders and provide, spread some of the work around. It's estimated annual usage on this MSA is $2.5 million.
Okay. Very good. Before we move on further, is there anybody, Clint, that's come in on the telephone lines or virtually that would like to speak on this matter?
I do have one hand that just went up.
I'm sorry?
I do have one hand that just went up.
Okay, if you could bring them in, please. It's Jerry Warren. Good morning, Mr. Warren, and welcome. You are virtually attending the Seminole County Board of County Commission meeting on discussion on item 60 of Rolling Hills. If you would give us your full name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak in this matter. Mr. Warren, you'll have to unmute.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm getting caught up on the technology.
And try to get closer to your computer or roll your volume up so we make sure everybody can hear.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
It's pretty faint.
Okay, I apologize. I'll speak up. I am.
Name and address, please, for the record.
Yeah, Jerry, my name is Jerry Warren. I live at 699 Canopy Court in Winter Springs, Florida. And I am a principal owner of Horizon Engineering Group.
I'm sorry, we're having trouble picking you up. Any chance you can roll your volume up a little bit?
Sorry, I don't think I can.
I think it's his volume, I think it's ours.
Any chance we can have, can we roll the volume up on our side for just a moment to make sure that all the comments get captured and heard? Okay, Mr. Warren, let's try again.
Again, I apologize. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Again.
Okay, go ahead and proceed.
Again, yeah, I am a principal owner here at Horizon Engineering Group, and we had been following this project for quite some time. As a matter of fact, we're well aware of the community involvement as part of this project. We had talked with HDR as well. We knew that they were intimately involved. Matter of fact, we even talked about a teaming agreement with them in the pursuit, and they opted not to. So we were reaching out to them. We take public involvement, public participation extremely serious with our firm. We do this a lot. We know taking on a project like this that's gone through a lot of public involvement and everything, that we as a company have to get back in sync with everything, and we're committed to do that. This is a very important project, not just for the community, but also our firm. So I'd like for see if we can have some reconsideration.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Warren.
You're welcome.
Be well.
Thank you.
Clint, do we have anyone else?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. No one else here in the chambers that wishes to speak on this item? From my perspective, I'm a fan of continuity, all things considered, unless there's a huge, pricing structure difference or some other anomaly that would want me to switch horses in the middle of a race if there's no better analogy. I know Commissioner Constantine didn't care for my analogy last meeting with bullets and chambers and all that, so we'll just say horses in a race. So I will be supporting Commissioner Delari's motion. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, could I just clarify something?
Certainly.
Commissioner Carey is correct that it is designated as a master services agreement. However, it's designated that way because the road is broken into 6 segments, and from a
I'm
staff
sorry,
standpoint.
can you take your mask off? I'm having a hard time
Sorry.
hearing.
From a staff standpoint, we wouldn't recommend breaking those 6 segments up between consultants. So our recommendation to the board is that you each select one consultant for the project, regardless of who that is.
And that's why I did the ranking 1 and 2, because if we can't come to an agreement with 1, we go to number 2.
Staff understood? Good?
Yes, sir. I just-
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, we'll take roll to memorialize the record. Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
Commissioner Delary?
Aye.
Commissioner Carey?
Aye.
Commissioner Constantine?
Yes?
Commissioner Zembauer, yes. Passes unanimous. All right, that gets us through to the next items, which will be our reports from our consent agenda for our constitutional consent agenda. Item 65 is a clerk's office consent. Do we have anyone from the public, Clint, that would like to make a comment on this item?
No, sir.
Okay, anyone from the public attending in the chambers today wish to make a comment? Seeing none, I'll look for board action.
Move to approve item number 65 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Pass unanimous. I'll call roll. Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
Commissioner Delary?
Aye.
Commissioner Carey?
Aye.
Commissioner Constantine?
Yes?
Commissioner Zembauer, yes. Next items, 66 and 67 are sheriff office consent items. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to make a comment on item 66 or 67, Clint?
No, sir.
Seeing none, is there anyone here in the
Move
chambers?
approval, Mr.
Second. I think she said move approval of
Okay.
66 and 67.
Yes, I did.
Quick on the draw there. I just wanted to check if anybody in the chambers. Anybody in the chambers here to speak on item 66 or 67? Commissioner Carey, please proceed.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, I'll call roll. Commissioner Lockhart?
Aye.
Commissioner Delory?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Commissioner Constantine?
Yes.
Commissioner Zembauer, yes. Thank you all very much. Next up is the county manager's briefings. If you have any further than your cares you had this morning, is there anything?
I have some items to read this afternoon. I'll give them to you under my report
So you want to do those
this
in the
afternoon,
report?
unless you want to hear them this morning.
Yeah, let's go ahead and try to do it this morning, get that off the table.
Switching things up on me. Commissioners, I have three things I wanted to follow up with you on, items that we talked about at prior meetings. I sent you some notes on each of them yesterday, and you should have copies also provided to you in front. The first item is we received the appraisal for the two properties at Red Cleveland and East Lake Mary Boulevard. I just wanted to kind of give you that as an informational item. There was parcels A and B, as you recall, B being the larger piece that's in front of the, in front of the entrance to the airport with the retention pond. And then parcel A was the strip that, that runs along Red Cleveland Road, Red Cleveland Boulevard as well. So we provided those to you. As the board directed, we asked that the appraisal be prepared in light of the highest and best use for those properties. As you can see from the reports, the numbers came in quite high on both of them. $2+ million on parcel A and a little over $4 million on parcel B. When we first discussed this, you indicated that you wanted us to attain an appraisal, and then with the expectation that we would move forward and advertise for a request for proposals, and I say that instead of bids, because anybody who would be submitting for purchase on that property would have to also include a proposal to accommodate the stormwater that's on those sites right now. So I don't need an answer today. We can talk about it at the next meeting, but I wanted to get it on your radar. If you're ready to give us direction today, that's fine. But if you want to digest it a little bit, we can talk about it some more at the next meeting.
What's the pleasure of the board on that? I personally would like some additional information.
I would.
As far as is the benefit of the county retaining it versus putting it on the market, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to know, all those. I know there's some right-of-way for roads that we want to preserve on some of that area. But for me, I would like to know more what our intent, or if there's any plans or benefit to the county retaining it long-term versus selling or marketing the property and bringing the money into the coffers of the citizens. So I would like some more information.
I would agree, Mr. Chairman.
Agreed.
Everybody okay?
Commissioner Carey?
Yeah, I would agree, Mr. Chairman. I think we need a little more information, and, if we want to talk about it at the next meeting, that would be great.
Great, thank you. And one side, I don't know, Clint or someone, Paul, maybe my hearing's getting really bad as I age, but I'm having trouble hearing like Commissioner Carey. Any chance we can raise the volume? I think some of the folks in the audience are having difficulty, and it only seems to be the ones that are attending remotely. I can hear my fellow commissioners just fine. Is that something, Paul? I know you're back there in a control room, if you can maybe give that a shot. So we'll move to your next item, Ms. Guillet, while we're working on that.
The next item is the Rosenwall School property. A couple of meetings ago, you had presentations on proposals for the redevelopment of the Rosenwall School site. you elected not to move forward with any of those proposals and asked staff to spend a little more time and bring back an alternative approach based on the feedback that we received from the board at that meeting, as well as individual discussions that Joe had with each of you to sort of get your intentions and expectations. So the document I provided to you has a summary of the feedback, both from that meeting and from those individual conferences, as well as a recommended path forward based on the discussions both at the meeting and individually. It appears that the board is interested in focusing a little more on the public service and community aspect of the project. We've also talked about there are other community facilities in the area, the Lily H. Green Center, as well as we have a new fire station coming up, as you all know, and there's also a community park there. So our recommendation to you is that we, based on your feedback, that we sort of regroup and prepare a master development plan with all of those facilities in mind, and use as a starting point the East Altamont study that was done in 2014 and the We Care plan that was done by the community in 2010, I think it was. We're recommending that you direct staff to work with Renaissance Planning Group, who did the East Altamont study. We have them under a master services agreement. They're familiar with the community. They had a very good rapport, and I think we're very responsive in that initial study. We work with them to do an actual master development plan that takes into consideration all of the community facilities, as well as has a community involvement element as we develop that master development plan, and have them bring something back based on that feedback, based on the feedback we've already received from you, and also to include a budget. That was one of the questions that we had is, if we were going to do all of these community facilities, what would it take to accomplish that? It might give us a better idea. I still think that there's some opportunity for partnership on the private side, but I think understanding really what the board's expectation is from a community facility standpoint and how those facilities would be operated would be helpful for any private partner to give us a much more realistic and feasible proposal for partnership. So if that meets the approval of the board, we'll go ahead and start. We've already reached out to Renaissance and anticipate, but I think that that's probably going to be the most useful approach. And again, it would include quite a bit of community involvement. We really want it to be an effective plan. I know that's what you want. So I'm looking for some direction from the board on that.
I'll go to Commissioner Carey in just a second. For me, I
Okay,
mean.
I can't hear y'all now. Can you hear
Uh-oh.
me?
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you great.
I can't hear anybody in the chambers. Can you hear me?
We can hear you great.
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
Okay,
can.
whatever they just did to the microphone cut you off, Nicole. So,
Let's,
but if you can hear me, what I was going to say is,
She's going to keep talking anyway.
you go right ahead, Commissioner Carey.
Go right ahead.
with the, on the housing, where maybe we look at doing a long-term ground lease with a developer so that
That was me, sorry.
if we, if there was housing built, it would give them time to have a return on the investment for building the facility, but at the end of the ground lease, it would become property of the county. And so that could remain as affordable housing and stay in our pool of affordable housing. And I think it's one way for us to, have a private partner possibly, and at the same time accomplish some of the goals that we're trying to accomplish. Then the private developer doesn't have necessarily the cost of purchasing the ground, but the cost of, some kind of lease speculation. So I just think that might be an opportunity for this parcel at Rosenwald. I want to make sure we look at all the options.
Sure, absolutely.
And I don't know if you can hear me, Commissioner Carey, but there seemed to be a consensus among your colleagues that the county maintain ownership, or that it be placed in a land trust, but that it be held to the public good in perpetuity.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the comments from my fellow commissioners that you've provided us for, and I think, looks like we're pretty close to on target with what the intent would be. Commissioner Constantine, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a little bit, and, you know, I might have an alternative opinion here, but, you know, in looking at the East Altamont study, and also looking at what has happened since the East Altamont study with the private investment that has occurred and the success that it's happened, and that was a straight real estate deal. In talking to a number of people, and you know, I mean, I'm very much involved in the real estate business also. You know, I think you're going to get your best results with putting requirements on there, but making it not a specific land trust, but a real estate deal. And I just wanted to make it a real estate deal, not a land trust. And I just wanted to clarify what is said here as far as my comments, because I do believe that we have to have an affordable housing component, a senior housing, which would be affordable housing component, some sort of after-school or pre-K component in there, a health department component, a law enforcement component, and a community room component, all of which was part of the East Altamont study. But I do believe that we may be missing an opportunity if we just go the land trust persuasion. I do believe that we should at least keep the possibility open of a straight real estate deal. And just like it is right next door, they're doing everything that we would like them to do, the private enterprise, while being able to put together a beautiful complex, affordable housing, very successful. And that was, as I said, a straight land deal.
Okay. Commissioner Lockhart?
So I continue to have good conversations with folks in that community, and as recently as late last week, talked to some homeowners that actually own several properties in the area, and they're very passionate about the fact that the intent of this property staying for the benefit mostly of the community, understanding that there may be a possibility for a private sector component, but the reality of the experience that we had with the Lily H. Green Center and that partnership with another entity, I think has left some folks in the community leery of relying on an outside entity to provide those community services. I think they feel much more confident and comfortable having the county be responsible for pulling together the partners and having control over the facility for the benefit of the community. And so I don't think that that excludes the possibility of using part of the property for affordable housing at all. But I think, you know, even if we were to carve out part of the property that would maybe not be under the direction or the purview of the affordable housing developer, they're battle weary
Sure.
in that community.
They're
And
concerned,
so,
of course.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I don't think that we as a county government at this point and the owner of that property can just walk away and allow another entity to provide those services and trust that that will happen in the way that we believe it should happen.
Or
That's
with
my
at
only-
least, or without some guidelines and some
Supervision.
provisions in place
Yeah, and we've had guidelines and supervision before.
that are monitored and followed up on
Yeah,
and enforceable.
I know, and it always sounds good, but then personalities and perspectives change, and then the horse is out of the barn.
Well, absolutely. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways you could skin that cat from the
Don't say it
standpoint
that way,
of deed restrictions. If you were going to do a straight sale on real estate, I think you could put covenants and restrictions on it to the point where those entities would have to do those things that we would hope they would do. Commissioner Carey, then Commissioner Delory.
Well, as you said, there's a lot of different ways to go about this. And I think first you've got to figure out what services we're going to provide and what buildings we're going to provide them in, and then how much space does that take? I mean, you could replat the property and plat a parcel for affordable housing. You could then either sell it off or maintain control of it through the county ownership. Again, you don't have to do a land trust. You could do a ground lease, and the county would still have ownership of the land. So I think there's got to be some pretty serious master planning, and then you figure out how you accommodate the housing portion of it. Like I said, you could replat the property and single out a site that you could either sell off, land, ground lease, land trust, whatever you wanted to do with it. So there's plenty of ways to do this.
Okay. Commissioner Delory?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate everyone's comments, and I think everyone has valid points and is on point. But I'm going to echo what Commissioner Lockhart said. The community is somewhat battle weary, and I think that's a great way to phrase it, Commissioner. And from my perspective, everyone's got the best intentions at heart. I believe it's all a lot of great input. But until you get a firm in like Renaissance to actually do that plan and bring the community back engaged, we need to make sure that there's more of an effort. Not that the effort hasn't been there, but we need to go beyond what the normal effort would be for transparency and to actually make sure that they're a part of the plan. And I believe that Commissioner Lockhart, with your statement about battle weary, it's a great analogy. And that's why I would support what the staff is suggesting.
Yeah, I would support doing further analysis on that. I think we owe it to the community.
Absolutely.
And looking at the entire area holistically with all the assets that are there. I would also like to, as much as we possibly could, try to use some modeling for other places throughout the county. In my district for decades, there's people that have wanted a community center for meetings, for ballet, for Boy Scout meetings, and all the things that we use community centers for. So we need to look at that in this aspect, but I think as much as we can use any modeling or canned ideas, if you will, from what comes out of this, maybe it'll be plugged in across the county when such funding and availability becomes. So I think staff has direction on what we want. Good?
Thank you.
Okay?
And the last item I have for you this morning is, we talked a couple of meetings ago about the potential of looking at the acquisition of the Deer Run and the Wekiva golf courses. And so you asked us to sort of bring back a process, timeline, and estimated cost. And Commissioner Lockhart suggested we maybe do it generically so that we could apply it in case this issue came up again, because it may very well. So I sent you, we put the team together, and they came up with an evaluation, post-evaluation sort of process with some estimated costs, and they are estimated. The cost will actually be driven by the specific facts surrounding any potential acquisition. But we did do some estimates for you as to what we thought it might cost and the time it might take if we were to investigate the potential for the purchase of either one of those golf courses, both of those golf courses, or any other golf course that you may be interested in looking at down the road. So I guess today we're looking for feedback or direction, if you want us to go ahead and pull the trigger and start looking at some of these, or if you want more information on this.
So I have a question. I don't necessarily have a problem with what's indicated here, except you've got, if I'm reading this right, estimated initial investment 6+ months. But then if I go up, we've got St. John's River Management District 4 to 6 months. Then you got wetlands analysis 3 to 4 months. With that said, I'm assuming
We anticipate
These will
there
be
will be things,
overlapping,
there will be
different
concurrent
groups?
activities.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I just want to make sure,
Yes.
because I'm looking at this going, okay, 6 months total, but it looks like we really got more than that. Okay. Thank you for
And the
clarification.
costs, I will tell you, are per golf course. So if we look at more than one golf course at the same time, then of course it'll be.
Is this a process you believe and staff believes, as Commissioner Lockhart raised the question, I think at the last meeting, that this is a checklist or guideline that could be utilized for other entities that could crop up in the future?
Yes.
You're not being, to follow up on that, you're not being specific to the 2 golf courses. I think this is
No.
just a generic look-see at anything that comes up, because as we all know, one size does not fit all, and we're not right now looking at any purchase of any particular golf course.
And there will be adjustments based on the specific facts related to any particular piece of property, but this is just generally the guideline, the process that we would recommend. We put together Public Works, Environmental Services, planning folks together, Parks, to talk about kind of what things we needed to consider. So I think that, I think the team captured everything. I can't promise something won't come up, but this is generally what we think we'd be looking at if we wanted to review the purchase of one or any golf course, not just the 2
Sure.
that we've talked about.
Okay. Commissioner Carey? Commissioner Carey?
Well, especially with the constraints that you're going to have on the budget, I mean, first of all, I'm going to just restate, I don't think that the county should start down this slippery slope of golf course purchases unless there's a very compelling reason, which there was with Rolling Hills. It was a very unique situation. To spend 6 months of staff time and, $90,000 to $150,000 to evaluate if we should buy somebody's golf course. I mean, there's a lot of golf courses in our county, and there's a lot of them in trouble. There's a lot of them already closed. There's a lot of communities who are being negatively impacted by these activities. And, if we start down this road, I think you're opening the door for everyone that has a golf course to come and ask us to do this. I think that, they made a private investment, and I think that they should figure out how to unwind it in a private venture.
Okay. Commissioner Lockhart?
So along those lines, would it be appropriate for there to be some type of an application process like we do with other processes that the county has set up with a fee that would be involved, that if somebody wanted us to evaluate their property for purchase, that they would have to submit some type of application fee that would be, not make it impossible for them to participate, but certainly it would keep people from just willy-nilly asking for the evaluation. Would that be, is that legal to do that? I don't know. I'm looking at Bryant.
May be legal, may not be smart.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I agree with Commissioner Carey from the perspective of, it is a considerable investment to have people just be able to say, hey, check out looking at my golf course, and what would keep us, what would give us guidance for which ones we would pursue and which ones we would not, and what would that criteria be, and, could we get into some potential favoritism of evaluating some and not others? I guess it's, I'm trying to be a little bit of a
I think you got to take it
devil's advocate.
on a one-by-one basis. I mean,
Right.
I'm all for having a process, but I mean, there may be some that there may be a benefit to consider, others may not, whether it's for parks or whether it's for recreation or green space or credits for something. I think we should keep an open mind, both if we're asked to consider a purchase as much as if we're asked to sell something. I think it's, a benefit to at least have the conversation, piece by piece.
We have to have an interest.
Well, obviously, there has to be a benefit to the public, and has to be an interest to move forward with such an item. Commissioner DeLaurie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think staff did a good job. I think this is another unique situation. The reason why I say that is because when we had our briefing from our county staff back in May, when Environmental Services was talking about the state of Florida is going to be reducing the consumptive use permit for groundwater, and we have to go to alternate sources of water. Well, there's only so much water that's out there. You either get it from the ground, you're either getting it from a river, you're getting it from a lake, or you're capturing rainwater. And that's when we started talking about, capping the wells at Deer Run. And that alone, I think, is a phenomenal way of looking at this. And right, as Commissioner Constantine said, each one is totally different. They're unique. If by the time you need groundwater, you start looking for it, you are too late. You have to start looking for groundwater way before you need it. And this is one aspect of looking for groundwater. And I think that alone would be a catalyst for us looking at Deer Run. And we need to be planning for not just the future of a community, but the future of all of Seminole County, because water will be the next big commodity. Make no mistakes.
Commissioners, if you look at the schedule, the things that take the longest on the evaluation are the MSBU discussion and the discussions with the Water Management District, which really are not out-of-pocket dollars. What you might want to do, if you're comfortable with the process, what you might want to do is send staff forward to have the discussions with the community and see if there's interest in being a partner in this. And we could come back and report to you in a couple of months, and you can make the decision at that point in time if you want to spend money on some of the things that we would have to contract out. If the discussion last time was if the neighborhoods are not interested in being partners in this, then maybe it's not as big a benefit as folks thought to the community. And so maybe we could have if you're comfortable with the process, maybe we could start with the community discussions and come back and report to you in a month or two, probably a couple of months it'll take us to get everything organized, but come back and report to you, and then you can decide if you want us to move forward with the things that we would have to it would be cash out of pocket.
Yeah, I'm okay with supporting that. Also, I would like, and I'll go to Commissioner Carey in just a moment. I would like our parks folks to look at from a standpoint of part of my district intertwines close to that area, and we have a deficiency and shortage of soccer fields that we continually have people complaining that Red Bug Lake Park, which is so at its max, busting at the seams, even during the COVID, at any given time during the week and the evenings or weekends, it's like a traffic jam getting in and out of there at the light. We should be looking at, is there a portion of this that benefits the public as a whole for those types of things? And I'm not advocating you take the whole golf course and turn it into that, but I'm just saying this could be another benefit of using portion or part of it, and maybe it doesn't work at all. But I think from a Parks and Recreation standpoint, we should look at if there's any benefit to that as well. Commissioner.
If that's an interest the board has, we need to communicate that to the community. If you want to use it as sort of a more active park, Rolling Hills is very passive. We would I'd like to know that up front so we can communicate that, because that sort of is the road we went down with Jetta, and I just want to make sure everybody knows that that's a possibility if we were to pursue this, if that's what you're thinking.
So to be clear, I'm not advocating you turn the entire
Sure.
golf course into a active recreational park for Seminole County residents. I'm saying is, if there is the ability to use, I don't know if it's 5 acres, 10 acres, 15 or 20, whatever that number is, of the, I think we heard 130 acres that are there, if there's some benefit for the children to have access to more soccer fields and have that availability that they can't seem to get in that area, we should at least consider it, I would think.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with keeping it as a consideration, but I think to the county manager's point, if we're going to be bringing in, I'll use the phrase soccer moms or lacrosse moms or whatever kind of mom you might be bringing through there, it's going to bring more traffic into their neighborhood, and it's going to change, I think, what they have in mind. So we would definitely need to communicate that, because that would probably change a lot of people's opinions one way or the other.
Sure, and be part of the MSBU conversation. I mean,
Right.
the cost
Right.
to
yeah,
the,
for
to the
sure.
average resident over there. Commissioner Carey?
Well, as the county manager said, the whole thing with Jetta Point Park blew up because the residents that it backed up to did not want an active park, which is what the land had been purchased for. So, people are just, many times it's the fear of the unknown and they don't want their community to change. However, the impact to the Deer Run community, I'll just use that as an example, to have some housing built on the golf course may not be as much as if you were going to put a park there. We have a master plan for our parks and recreation that isn't funded completely for the things that they've already identified that they want. So again, adding more things, spending more staff time, up to $150,000 to investigate these. I like the idea of maybe there being an application for us to even consider it and spending some staff time. The other thing I would say is, we've got a 100-acre park and we can only put 15 fields on that. So when you start talking about take 20 or 30, acres and carve that out, is that really enough fields to make a difference? So again, I think you got to really think about this. And you know what? If there are private wells there that are permitted, what's the status of those? And if it isn't going to be a golf course anymore, you could just potentially purchase the wells and allow something else to happen on the rest of the land. So, and we've done that in this county, purchased private wells in the past and private systems in the past. So again, I have a lot of golf courses in my district particularly. Some of them are already closed. This is just going to be an ongoing problem, and I just think it's a slippery slope, and I just caution everybody about going down this path.
Okay.
Especially without the developers or the golf course owners having any skin in the game. There should be some kind of application process for us to at least do the initial coverage and see how the community feels about it, because that also takes staff time.
Sure. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Delory?
I truly believe the next step is to actually talk to the developer to see if they're willing to put their project in abeyance, and then also have a community meeting out there to make sure that we have community input to actually start this and a report back to this board to see what the next step could potentially be. That's what my recommendation would be.
Okay. I have no problem supporting moving forward and at least getting the citizenry understanding what their costs might be, and I think that's going to involve a discussion with the developer that understand what that could be or might be, and I think that's the first step is find out if the interest is real, find out if the citizenry understands what real means, because it's going to impact them financially. So I think that's appropriate discussions that should be had, so I'll support that as well. Commissioner Carey?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would not agree with asking the developer to put the project hold, because through the MSBU, process in that conversation is 4 to 6 months. I mean, if the developer has entitlements and then the community knows what that entitlement is versus, another option, I just don't think that that's reasonable to ask somebody to put a project on hold while we, try to go figure this out. They have every right to try to pull it. I'm sure they listen to these conversations. And and I would not support asking them to put the project on hold.
All right.
I think they could dual track.
Okay.
I didn't hear that last part.
She said she thought that we could dual track that.
Yeah. Okay. Does staff believe they have direction or don't have direction?
No.
Okay. So,
No.
again, I'll support moving forward with the MSBU discussion with the community. I think we should be taking a look at it and do as much as you can without expending, the amount of dollars that you've indicated here, to at least, I think the first step is, what is a number that the average citizen is going to be asked to pay as an MSBU member? towards
Let me
this
tell you
course.
how long it takes to get that answer.
Well, no, I've been to this movie.
Wait, I could tell.
Mr. Chairman, I don't, I know that there has been an application for Deer Run, but, I mean, what we started here today was just a timetable, if you will, of the possibility of, when you're looking at general country clubs, and golf courses closing. I don't think we're going from a generic discussion to a specific discussion. And quite frankly, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to do it, because in my estimation, the property right now is zoned, and that zoning is recreational, is it not?
I think it's a PD.
So
It's a
it's
PD.
PD.
It's PD?
Yeah.
All right, so with the portion of the golf course, that isn't an application that's moving forward. I just want to make sure that we're not jumping in front of the cart, so to speak, and going down a road that, puts us in a situation that steamrolls to an inevitable decision. I think that we should just, we've got this process that the county staff has given us. It's a reasonable process, and I think we should just leave it at that right now. And as far as this other thing, when we're ready to pursue, as this thing culminates, we may have to make some decisions down the road, but I don't think right now we want to go and talk to the developer about the possibility of anything, quite frankly. I think we can investigate some things if we'd like to, but that's things we should do on our own.
I think you need to bring the developer in because it's his property.
Okay.
Well, and the reality is, there's been discussion. I mean, informal discussion. It's
Right.
out there, and
I think the community's been having discussions.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I mean,
That's why I'm saying you need to
So,
have a
so the
community
reality
meeting.
is,
Mr. Chairman?
not to belabor the point, what would this board like staff to do? Do you want them to continue doing their due diligence?
Mr. Chairman?
Do we have something from the county attorney?
You already said it. I would just be concerned if you get into any specifics today about the project. I agree with Commissioner Constantine that it's one thing to give staff direction on what the county manager has submitted, but I would not talk about specifics on any golf course or development.
Correct. Okay.
well, I'm going to need direction. Do you want us to pursue this process? I mean, we've already talked about the potential of Deer Run and Wekiva at a prior meeting. So I'm going to need to know from the board what you want us to do with respect to those two golf courses.
You can give direction, yes or no, proceed on. I just don't want you to talk about specifics on development.
I'm not talking specifics.
Right.
Okay. In general, on
In
the
general, look at
process.
possibilities.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
And I'll support that.
Yeah.
Commissioner Carey?
Since we're talking about a generic process, I mean, I like Commissioner Lockhart's suggestion that there be an application with an application fee. So what do the other board members think about that? Because if you're looking for us to approve this generic process today that someone would go through, if you wanted us to start into a discussion about a potential investigation of a golf course, then I think that the clear direction we need to give her is, are we just going to do this for free, or are we going to have an application process? I would support an application process with a healthy application fee, quite frankly.
Okay. Commissioner Lockhart?
So I'm okay with moving forward. I think the county manager made a very good point in that she characterized the conversation so far as informal. And I don't see any reason for us to give staff direction to move forward with more informal conversations. And I think the best way to formalize something. And so whether it's through an application and an associated fee, which we probably can't do that at this stage of the game because we don't have it in the admin code, right?
You have to
Can't
come
do that.
back with a process.
We have to come back, okay.
Right.
But, I mean, I'm going through my mind very quickly on how much longer that would take than it sounds like just saying it out loud. I have no problem moving forward with a process for anyone to submit an application of some type to be determined with the fee or without a fee, to formalize a process. I don't feel comfortable giving staff direction to continue moving forward with something that we haven't formalized.
And, Mr. Chairman, quite frankly, Commissioner, when you're talking about a application and an application fee, it deems that the applicant, the owner of the property, wants to move in this direction. I don't think the applicant wants to move in this direction. I think the applicant wants to, the plans that he's submitted is to build on that. So I don't know if that.
I think that's already in the works.
Yeah, and that's already in the works, so I don't know if
So-
that is going to be something that they'll want to sit there and say, oh, yeah, we want to do an application fee for you all to potentially look at buying.
Well, maybe it's the
property.
community, like with every other MSBU. I know our MSBU process has an application and a fee associated with that to proceed. So maybe it's, is the community really interested? Maybe you put the onus on the community. But to your point, this golf course or any other, if the owner is not a willing participant in the conversation, then, I guess it's
And,
moot.
Mr. Chairman, that's the reason why I said, let's have a community meeting, and let's
That
talk
is
to
a good idea.
talk to the applicant.
There you go.
Not the applicant, the property
I think
owner.
that's-
Talk to the property owner.
At the end of the day, that's probably the first place to start.
Always.
So maybe we'll look at the first 3 steps on the chart and then
There you
come
go.
back and report back to you on that. How about that? Before
Sounds
we.
a good idea. Sounds like a great idea.
Okay, and just so I'm clear, when you raised this issue previously, we were talking about the Deer Run Golf Course and the Wekiwa Golf Course. And I don't know, I know the Deer Run neighborhood has been very engaged in this issue. I don't know if, I haven't heard from anybody in Wekiwa.
I've actually spoken to
If-
Wekiva,
if-
they're interested.
If I might be,
I don't know. I don't know
nothing
that
has
might not be-
nothing has been applied for at Wekiva.
That's correct.
So therefore, I would not touch Wekiva at all. I would leave that alone. That's why I didn't want to get into specifics.
Let's talk to Deer Run, let's talk to the property owner and report back to the board. Let's take the first 3 items that you suggested.
With respect to Deer Run, and we'll report back to you.
Sounds great.
All right, we moved it forward a little bit. Okay, good. All right, I appreciate that.
Check and make sure Brian
Okay, and
still
if
got
there's,
a pulse.
if there's something, because I know I just shared this with you yesterday, if there's something on this list that you think we've missed, let me know, please, and we can work it into the process. Sure.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Do we
Anything
still
else
have a
in your?
county attorney? Hold on. Are you-
No, looking forward to seeing the list and reviewing it.
Anything else in your briefing?
No, sir, that's all I have for you today.
Mr. Applegate, do you have anything for us this morning?
I think I'll pass.
Thank you.
All right, with that said, we will adjourn until 1:30.